Hey everyone, so in this section I'm going to be talking about 5 potential career paths that might have work from home or remote working arrangements. Now of course this is going to depend largely on the specific industry that you're targeting, but even more specifically the specific organization that you happen to want to work at as well. Of course this is going to differ and it's not going to be universal across the board, but hopefully this provides you with a general overview and an introduction of positions that you can actually consider that have increasingly more opportunities for remote and work from home positions. So the first that we actually want to start off with is software development. Now, software development itself is such a broad field. So we can talk about things like client-side development, front-end development, or even server-side development or back-end development as well. You can even talk about things like DevOps or production engineering, working on making sure that websites and apps and servers are operating at capacity around the clock. And there might be some overnight opportunities, which of course might also come with some work from home arrangements there as well. What we find is that a lot of organizations within the tech sector, but also in some more traditional sectors, have had to rely on some remote workers to be able to fulfill the requirements of the positions that they're looking for. The other thing to really consider is in a lot of cases, if you're looking at startups in particular, and if they've just received some funding, it's a great opportunity for them to cut on costs if they don't necessarily have to factor in having an office and they can have a remote workforce. But also more traditional organizations have sort of had to think about more remote and work from home opportunities for them to offer as competitive of packages as some of their counterparts in the startup world as well. Because what we're finding is that a lot of qualified new graduates and even some qualified experienced professionals are gravitating more towards some of the positions that'll give them a little bit more flexibility. And so some traditional organizations have had to factor that into their compensation packages as well to be able to attract some of the best talent in the industry. The next thing we want to talk about is along the same lines, but it's going to be a completely different skill set. And that's going to be something in the data field or the big data field as well. So anything from data engineering to data scientist to data analyst, 3 totally different positions, but in a lot of cases they do require or they do attract much of the same or a very similar profile as people who are going down the software development route. In a lot of cases, people who are going down this field typically have a strong quantitative background, either in mathematics, statistics, computer science, or some other STEM-based major. We actually did a segment specifically on data scientists. If you want more information on that, I can link that in the description below. But this field in particular is something that is rapidly growing amongst startups, but also amongst traditional organizations who are trying to find better ways at modeling data and tracking data to make better informed decisions as well. And so for that reason, they've had to rapidly grow their teams internally, which has of course required them to look for some remote employees to help out with that as well. Now the next one is one that you probably don't think about quite too much, but there's more and more opportunities coming up as technology continues to advance, and that's the field of accounting. Now, of course, if you're looking at the Big Four or you're looking at larger firms, of course, there's probably going to be quite a bit of in-person interaction, and so this isn't going to be a completely remote working arrangement. But if you're looking at smaller boutique accounting firms, or if you're doing some contract work on a contract basis with specific firms, or even some smaller organizations who can't necessarily afford to hire a dedicated accountant or don't necessarily have the need for it, there might be some opportunities for you to do some contract work for them on a remote basis. But also the great thing about accounting is there's always the opportunity to hang your degree up on the wall and to be able to take on some clients either on a freelance basis doing some tax accounting or even working with some smaller organizations as well. And so there are opportunities for you to work in a remote arrangement there depending on what flexibilities it is that you're looking for and what work arrangement you're looking for there as well. The next one is graphic designing. So graphic designing as well could encapsulate either working at a specific agency. It could also encapsulate working at a specific organization or even being a freelancer as well. The great thing about graphic design is once you have the project scopes and once you have an understanding of what it is the client wants, there isn't really a whole lot of client interaction that's required. You might be able to facilitate a lot of this through Skype or through phone calls or emails as well too, but until you're actually delivering the final product, there probably isn't a whole lot outside of keeping them updated on the progress of their project and ensuring that you're kind of following along the same guidelines is what they expected of you as well. The other great thing about graphic design is the fact that a lot of times it's really based on the profile that you're able to build, and so there's always opportunities on a freelance basis to work with not only smaller organizations, but maybe solo entrepreneurs or individuals or local organizations as well too, or committees who might need some graphic design assigned work. And so there's definitely some opportunities to maybe not even necessarily be a full-time arrangement for yourself, but to be able to supplement some of the other things that you're also doing as well. Now, the last thing I want to touch upon is the field of recruitment. Now, this could be anything from specific IT recruitment within specific agencies or within the organizations as well. Now, not all organizations are going to be open to remote arrangements, particularly in recruitment. It's going to depend largely on how much in-person interviews you're going to be doing or how much in-person facilitation is going to be required of you. But there are some opportunities for boutique firms who are hiring people internationally in particular. So in that case, you might be doing a lot of the screening interviews over Skype or over phone as well, as you don't necessarily have to interact with anyone in person anyways. Or if you're within a particular organization, you're doing a lot more of the administrative stuff. So either doing a lot of recruitment research or you're doing a lot of facilitation. So you're managing the candidates' experience through the recruitment process. You're arranging a lot of the interviews with the hiring manager as well, and you're essentially just reviewing a lot of the applicants that have come through the recruitment funnel. So it's really going to depend largely on what your function is within the recruitment field itself, but also specifically on what the specific needs are of this specific firm or company that you're working with as well. So that's something for you to keep an eye out on a little bit more as well. There are some opportunities for you to potentially be able to help out smaller organizations that don't have a recruitment arm within the organizations to maybe work on a contractor or freelance basis to kind of open yourself up to building out your remote portfolio in that sense. But again, if you're able to land a position within a small agency or even a larger agency or firm that's open to the remote work from home arrangement, then that might be the ideal scenario for you. The other thing to really consider is all the positions that we've talked about in a lot of cases are high skilled positions. So they're going to require you to have a specific skill set or specific knowledge of a particular field for you to be competitive to some of these positions. I know there's tons of online resources that talk largely about some entry level positions that do have remote or work from home opportunities. We wanted to focus largely on potential career paths that you might be staying at for the next 5, 10, 15, and maybe even 20 years as well too. And so that's something for you to really consider. Now, of course, as time goes on, hopefully there's going to be more and more opportunities for remote workers outside of the 5 that we've actually talked about here. This is actually just a brief introduction. There's a ton more positions out there as well. This is sort of to act as kind of a starting point in that sense as well. And so hopefully you'll be able to further on with your research based off of the things that we've outlined. One thing to consider is the fact that there are going to be some positions that probably won't ever have a work from home component. A great example of that would be positions that do require quite a bit of client interaction, one-on-one interaction or one-to-many conversations, or just operating heavy machinery or just something that's going to be heavily regulated. Great example of this might be like dentistry or surgeons or power line operators. A lot of the trades are a great example of this as well, a pilot or flight attendant or something along those lines. Of course, for obvious reasons, that they probably wouldn't be able to have a work from home arrangement in that sense, and that's fairly understandable. But there's a lot of other industries and a lot of other positions within these industries that are becoming more and more based on technology and advancements in technology. And so hopefully there's going to be a lot more opportunities for people to be able to go down career paths that'll give them a little bit more flexibility so they can manage both their personal and professional commitments as well. So I'd love to hear your comments, questions, concerns in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on these? Are there any other positions that you'd like to outline as well, or you'd like for us to go over? Love to hear about that as well. If you appreciated the segment, make sure to like and subscribe. As always, thank you so much again for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.